Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. So I'm Russell Young. I'm the App Innovation Practice Director here at Transparity. Just to cover quickly who we are and what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be covering the future of quality engineering. It's not just the future, because it's actually where we are today and where we are now as well. And I'm joined today by Amara Naveed from Transparity and Sujit Demello from Microsoft. And if I can just ask you, Amara, to just introduce yourself quickly.
Sure. Thank you so much, Russell. Welcome, everybody. I'm Amara Naveed. I'm Technical Manager at Transparity and leading the quality engineering side. So yeah, looking forward to speaking to you regarding what's the agentic quality engineering and how it is shaping the future of quality engineering. Over to you, Sujit.
Thank you, Amara. Sujit Demello. I'm an FDE at Microsoft based in the United States, and I focus a lot on financial services, customers, trying to get them to use our AI suite and tools. And of course, quality engineering has been playing a big part of that. I'd love to share some insights into that.
Thank you, Sujit. And this brings back memories for me, because myself and Sujit go back sort of 10 years or so when we were at Microsoft, and we both had the pleasure of co-hosting the Azure podcast for those 10 years. I think Sujit started it even longer ago than that. So great to have you back in front of the Teams channel and recording again. So nice to see you, Sujit. Thanks for joining us. So I'm going to jump straight in then. Just a little bit of background about Transparity. We are the most accredited UK Microsoft partner. We work very closely with Microsoft. A lot of our staff are ex-Microsoft. We've got some great relationships. We're actually located in the same office in London, in Paddington at 2 Kingdom Street. And that partnership is really strong. We focus solely on Microsoft technology stack. So that means we can go deep, because that's where all our expertise is. And all the accreditations and specializations that we have, they give us access to a whole load of Microsoft resources. Resources, expertise, and as well as funding as well. So we proactively look for any chance to use Microsoft funding to help with deployment or delivery. And we proactively keep on top of all the latest trends and technologies with Microsoft as stuff gets announced. And yeah, what a week we've had with all the build announcements that have been coming out as well. It's particularly relevant to the AI area that we're working in today. So that the subject matter for today, like I say, it's quality engineering. And we've been doing some research. Obviously, it's not a surprise to anybody that generative AI is the latest kind of trend in how people are building software. It's made a humongous difference in terms of the speed at which code can be generated by software development teams, and it's really transformed that side of the industry. So Gen AI coding, using whichever tools you want to talk about, whether it's Claude Code, GitHub Copilot, and whichever models, it means that going from requirements to software now is a much shorter cycle. And as a result of the AI assistance that you're getting, there's generally a lot more code that you can test as well, that needs testing, the code that gets built as a result of it. And depending on guardrails and the guidance and the rules in which the developers and the development teams have put around the way in which they use generative AI, the quality is going to vary, the output's going to vary quite a lot. AI, if it's uncontrolled, can just generate a whole load of nonsense, or not, not perhaps the best code. And within Transparity, I like to differentiate between vibe coding and what I call frontier development, where vibe coding is really about people that probably don't have the expertise and experience in software development, using AI assistants to put things together very quickly that may look quite nice, but probably aren't of the highest quality, and maybe you then have issues with performance, scale, security, and so on and so forth. So anyway, this Gartner statement is just about the fact that rise in Gen AI is real. I think this is a bit of a pessimistic view, because I think most software developers in enterprise are already using code assistants. So yeah, it's here now, and it's causing problems if people don't know how to keep up with the quality engineering side of things that follow as a result. So some of the research we've been doing has been leading to this insight about where and why we're getting problems. And sorry, I forgot to mention right at the start. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Bethany. If you do have any questions, please do ask in the chat window. We'll be monitoring that throughout, and there'll be a chance at the end to ask questions as well. Yeah, so the main challenges that people are facing are projects being late. So because of testing, and testing tends to be backloaded, you do all your software development up front. You get to the stage where you then go, right, I'm ready to release it. The developers kind of hand it over. Testers get started on it, and they find problems and issues as they're going through. That leads to inefficiencies. People are doing manual testing. They might find a bug. You've got to then go back to the development team. They've got to reiterate, and you've got to start all your testing again. So no surprise, if you're not doing testing as part of your process and it's not embedded, then your project is going to be late. As you speed up your development, and you can embed Gen AI with it, obviously you're going to see problems with quality if your quality engineering doesn't keep up with it. Fairly obvious insight, but here's some real statistics from some of the data points that are out there. And the other thing that is quite key is the wasted time from developers who are sitting there waiting for tests to happen, whether those are manual or automated, but they're sitting there waiting for things to happen to see whether something breaks or not, before they can go through and resolve and fix and hand over. So we commissioned YouGov to carry out some research across over 500 companies, all sectors and all sizes. And as I say, the main three things that came out of that were time to production is slower than you would hope. It's always slower than people want. Customer satisfaction is lower than ideal, and quality issues lead to dissatisfaction in development teams. That third one was a bit of a surprise to me. We'll dig a bit deeper into that as well. But as well as YouGov, I'd like to ask Sujit from Microsoft, what's your experience with customers, and does those three things, are they kind of aligned to what you're seeing?
Yes, absolutely. So, when it comes to enterprise customers, they're doing things like large scale modernization. So they've got a lot of legacy code that they've had over the years, and they are, they're not, they have not updated that code because it was too complex to update. Now with this new AI assisted coding, they're going through this process of, re-innovating all of that code into the modern stack. And of course, with that poses all of the operational risks about making sure that new code works exactly as the previous code was supposed to work, and make sure that it's tested, because it's legacy code. There's not a whole lot of experience with that code, and so they want to make sure that the new code would work just as well. So this is where quality engineering, I think, is playing the biggest impact, especially when it comes to integration and dependencies, right? There's so much complexity in these enterprises. It's not just one single team or person cannot do it. It has to be done at an integrated scale. And we have to get that certainty that there's not going to be a regression when this code is updated. So we're doing these mass scale updates. Of course, the new code the greenfield code is coming out with generated AI assistance today. And all of this needs to be tested.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So I guess the recommendation is build your regression tests against your old software before you start your modernization approach. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm just thinking the other thing that you get with generative AI is it's easy now to generate the code, and developers will be using it to create unit tests as well. And if you're asking the generative AI to create unit tests based off of the code that it's creating, it's probably always going to pass. And you're not really testing the requirements, you're testing what it's coded, which...
Exactly. Yeah. The unit tests, are just validating the implementation, really, and they're not validating the business intent that was asked for. And so that's why this integrated testing approach using telemetry and other forms is very important. Sorry, Amara.
I think the same is true when you start using the agentic AI to just, you see your builds fail because the test has failed somewhere, and you just say, right, fix my tests. And it goes and looks at the code and goes, oh, you could fix it in this way. But again, you're not maybe validating that your requirement is still being met.
Yeah, I mean, I think because the AI is generating a lot of the unit tests, failures don't happen because of, a specific piece of code, right? I think we are at the point in our software development systems, and with the help of AI, that individual blocks of code work very well, right? We can, the AI will generate code to test it, and we have good systems in place, linting before compilation, unit testing after compilation. So there's, we know that this block of code will work well. The question is, will it work with every other block of code in the enterprise, right? That is the key point over here. This is why that whole concept of intelligent integration testing is very important here.
Very good point, Sujit. And I also want to add, it's not only about the integration testing, it's also about the end-to-end testing. So really, are the end-to-end flows working? And on top of that, that's the functional part. What about the non-functional part of the testing, which people normally tend to forget? And this is something always picked up late in the process. So like performance testing, usability and accessibility testing, these are the things that's absolutely important as part of the testing and quality engineering process.
Yeah. Okay, great. And this really is about getting a balance, right? So as with all things, there's a balance to be had here. So if you've got no testers, then you're relying on the development team to do that testing for you, or generative AI to have built those tests and so on. Or you've got an army of testers that are doing a lot of manual stuff, maybe trying to cover 100% of everything end to end. And I think that the sweet spot really, as the research has showed, is that it's somewhere in between that. So it's about trying to find the right level of testing for the risks and the complexity of the code that you've got, and testing at the right time as well. So you don't want to slow down delivery, you don't want to inflate costs by having everybody testing everything. And I think if you go for about 80%, then that's a sweet spot. As Pareto's principle, obviously, but if you go for that final 20%, the cost of that is not only significant in terms of people and effort, but it's the time it takes to run those tests and when you're testing them as well.
Yeah, and I'd say that trying to over-automate all of these workflows can be just as much as an operational drag as under-automating it, right? So to your point, Russell, you got to find the right number that you want to aim for in your testing.
Yeah. And we see a mix. Our customer base, we see a lot of organizations that have some manual testing. In fact, that's generally the case for most of our companies. They've got some manual testing. They may have dabbled with automated testing, but then had issues with keeping up to date. You've got to have the right skill set. You've got to have the right mentality to keep those automated tests up to date as well. And as a result, a lot of these organizations just take a lot longer to get software out the door than you would hope to. The gold standard is to be able to release software daily if you can, or multiple releases per day. If you look at companies like Spotify, then that's how they work. They've got the engineering processes in place that they can make incremental changes. They can put that through an automated pipeline. It will test just the bits that are impacted by that code, and out it goes. And you've got a very efficient release cycle with very low amount of risk. So testing is the bottleneck for most companies that don't have that kind of level of engineering in place.
Yeah. And Russ, one thing I'd say on that slide is that the goal of automating all of these regression tests is confidence, right? That is the key goal here. Is how do we gain the confidence as early as possible in the life cycle? Because when the business people, the engineering leaders have that confidence, they are more likely to promote this idea of daily updates, like you talked about, right? Because they know that things are not going to break. So, and that's the teams that move really fast in this case are the ones that receive that feedback, from the testing, and are able to take it into account and make changes and ship products faster.
Yeah, because that cost again is huge, right? Once it's gone out into production, not only have you got this issue, which is about customer dissatisfaction and the defects, doing some real damage to your organization and your reputation, or perhaps security breaches and risks out there. But you've got to go back into that cycle of the developers, which were probably working on the next new feature and doing something that they find exciting. You're dragging them back into work from previous month or so, and stuff they've probably got bored of and not that interested in looking at anymore as well. So the cost goes up. The cost is not just the tangible cost of that process, but there's this intangible cost as well in terms of damage to your business and the customer satisfaction. So a customer is going to end up walking away because they see your product as poor, or worse, you get security breaches, cyber attacks, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, a lot of these production defects, which escape all of the testing that you put into place, will ultimately become like a customer trust event, as you say. And I work a lot with regulated industries like finance, and there, a lot of this, if there's a lot of distrust from the public, from the regulators, and that's going to get some more scrutiny on your business, right? They're going to start looking, okay, are you really meeting all the regulations? What's your compliance? They're going to start coming after you. They're going to do audits, So you really don't want to have that customer event. You want to reduce the number of customer events to the minimum. That's definitely the goal for regulated industries.
Absolutely. So I'm going to skip on a little bit. So I think we've talked about this already, but the risk of not having dedicated testers, putting it onto your developers, leads to a great deal of dissatisfaction. I was a bit surprised by this because it wasn't something that comes to mind straight away when you think about testing, is the impact on the development team directly, and how you might have a talent drain issue as a result of that as well. So having developers do stuff that they don't like to do, that most developers are there because that's what they want to do. They want to be creative. They want to be designing new stuff. They don't want to be just going over and testing stuff that's there before. So yeah, some interesting stats there. But one of the things that's kind of come out about this is there's a trend towards shift left testing. What is that all about, Amara?
Yeah, with shift left testing, at the moment, most of the companies where we have manual testing, and manual testing has been there for ages. That's people normally do. So developers, they build the product, or they build this whole feature, and then over to the testers, and they are testing at the right. So it was having all of the impact on the release cadence. And now with shift left testing, what really it means is that as soon as you build the feature, it's tested there and then you move on to the next one. And this is how the faster loop is working, and release cadence is faster. So you just mentioned, Russell, regarding Spotify. I was very surprised when a few days back I looked at it, and it was each day they are doing 4,500 releases. 4,500, that's a lot. And what they are doing is, as soon as they are developing, they are testing there and then. So it's small chunk of code developed, tested, shipped. And this is how really with AI we want to move towards, because where it is going to write the code faster for us, we need the testing to be faster as well.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will be stuck in this vicious loop, and testing will always be a bottleneck.
Cool, thank you. Right, I'm going to shift on again because I'm keen to get as much time for Amara to do your demos as well. I just wanted to quickly touch on why this is a thing now, and it wasn't kind of 6 to 12 months ago. The technology has moved on, so everyone's aware of large language models now. ChatGPT came out a while ago. It was huge in terms of the impact it made, but it was quite a simple, in terms of where we are today, quite a simple model, and you would get responses from a model that was fairly static. There was a big thing at the time where you could go and ask it something about the news that happened yesterday. You wouldn't get an answer because it was trained at a specific date in time. So we've moved on from that. There's been technology around like retrieve, augment, generate, which is a pattern that allows the AI to go off and look at semantic index search sources as well, to pull back specific documents and then use that documentation and context to augment the responses that it's doing. So you then can start getting much more up-to-date data, or more specific data from a set of searches that are more relevant as well. And then we move to a more, what we call the AI agent, where the user's going through the prompt that the user puts in gets enriched with a system prompt and a user prompt. And then you've got various different tools and sources that the LLM, or the agent that's orchestrating the LLM, can use to kind of figure out a better output for you. And now we're in this world of agentic AI, where the agents themselves are making autonomous decisions as to how to interact with other agents and how to pull things in. So obviously there's governance around the scope of what they can do, but this really is what's caused the shift here. And when I relate this back to what we're doing in quality engineering, it's taken us from the point of view where you can have pipelines and automated flows to agentic flows that can actually do reasoning and start looking at things and trying to decipher why something's happening in a certain way. It's got access to the source controls, the source code, so it can go and look at much more complex paths and make decisions and kind of figure out why something's going wrong. And then it can start to put together plans in terms of how it can fix that. And then it can use other agents to determine which one of those plans is the right one to go for. So you end up with a much more comprehensive flow with reasoning in it and a much higher quality output as a result. So that's where the technology's got to, and I'll hand over now to Amara to give a quick demo of the knowledge base piece.
Thank you so much, Russell. Do you want to explain a little bit around Team Review, so the app that we are going to use in this demo?
Very briefly, yeah. So Team Review is an internal line of business application that we've built here within Transparity over the last few months. We've used generative AI to build it. And it's a tool set that is initially it was used for doing performance reviews across our team, but when we kind of realized how much you can put together and do with generative AI, we started to add lots of other tools in it as well. So we're now running a lot of our delivery practices and our resourcing from that tool set as well. It's become a kind of a critical part of our business.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Russell. So hi, everybody. What I'm going to do is quickly showcase you what we have built here in Transparity and how agentic AI is helping us reimagine quality engineering from the AI aspect. So with AI, I will give you a quick brief overview of the first agent that we have created. That's called the discovery agent. Now with AI, the problem is AI has always been probabilistic. It is not deterministic. So the biggest risk with AI is it hallucinates the test, and AI invents selectors that don't exist, form fields that aren't there, and it asserts against the endpoint, which is essentially a made up. So this happens because AI is working blindly, and it's guessing what's on the page. So we asked, what if we remove the guesswork? So let me show you what we have here. So before I dig deeper into this, what we really want is, before AI go ahead and write the test cases, we really want it to have the understanding of the application. So let's consider, just as a manual tester, what the manual tester would do if you have given a project. It's to understand the domain knowledge. That's what our discovery agent does. So our discovery agent, it crawls the entire application, build a structured knowledge base. So for the app team review, what I have done is I've already ran the discovery agent, understood that what actually this application is, and then based on that, that whole information is fed into all of the next processes. So test plan, test generation, healing, all that thing is fed into the upcoming processes. So what you can see on the screen right now is when I ran this discovery agent onto a team review app, it actually found 40 pages, which is fully mapped for every page. So if I go ahead into the sitemap, you can see that it actually made a whole of the sitemap of the application. It said that, okay, I can find these pages. Let's look at one of the page. And once I open up this full page, yep. So you can see that it has all the information of the page with all of the elements. So every element, every button, link, input, real selectors, and all these things can be found here, along with the API calls. So it understands what was the request header, what is the response headers, response body, and all that. Now, this is going to get the real backbone of the system that we are going to build ahead. So the test plan. the test plan that it will create will have the real information of the system, not the hallucinated stuff. I will showcase you a few other things. So let's look at the diagrams. It actually created the whole of the application mind map. So I will just open up its large application. So yeah, as you can see, so for example, this team member page, it knows that where it is interacting with the team members page. So all of the details are in here. Let me just quickly close this one. And the observations, which is just quite cool. So let's go on to the observations panel. Sorry, it's loading. In the observation, while it was crawling the application, it actually found what are the, is there any some bugs that it can find. So it did find some of the issues and the testing risks. So with the testing, the biggest thing is you don't want to test each and every single thing. You want to test the risk areas. So your test strategy follows the risk. And that's what it found. It found that, okay, these are the areas where the risk lies. So we should be spending more time testing these areas instead of the low risk areas where we don't want to invest our time. And the testing strategy. So you have all this information, which becomes the backbone of the system that I will show you in the upcoming in another demo. But yeah, this is essentially the backbone of the system that we have built in. I think any questions from you, Sujit or Russell?
And this is great, Amara. Yeah, I can certainly relate to this because I think in all the large enterprises that I work with, the main concern with AI generated testing is trustworthiness, right? Is it testing the correct thing? And I think the moment you anchor that agent that you just showed against, what the observed application reality is instead of pure inference, then the accuracy really improves dramatically. And with that, the trustworthiness that the customer gets that your tests are doing what they are supposed to do.
Exactly, yeah. So we are not asking AI to imagine what the app looks like. We are showing it to the AI. That's the most important thing. So backbone of our approach is the documentation.
Fantastic, thank you. And just to talk a little bit about the technology that's in play there, we're using Playwright MCP, right, which is a fantastic set of tools.
Yeah,
but we're using that.
definitely.
Sorry, go on, Suji.
Russell, I can't help jump in here and say that Playwright. I know I'm from Microsoft. I can tell you, Playwright is one of the best gifts that Microsoft has given to the community. Playwright MCP is an even better gift, and I think that this is a fantastic tool. I'm glad you guys are using it.
Yeah, it absolutely transformed how we were doing automated testing, which we were using various other third-party tools on top of the Playwright stack initially, and then Playwright MCP came out. It really transformed the way in which we were working. No license fees for Playwright, but we do use GitHub Copilot and the Copilot SDK underneath. And obviously, with those tools, there are some subscription fees and some AI usage costs as well that come into it. But on top of that stack, we've built our own IP. Amara's team have been building agents out on top. That again, if we work with customers, we deploy our framework at the current state that it is. No licensing fees or everything there is free for customers to use going forwards, even when we disengage. So obviously things to bear in mind are there are costs for compute, LLM usage, and so on and so forth. But that mainly the stack is Playwright MCP. That's the thing that enables most of it. And I don't know, Mara, if you just wanted to talk briefly around the kind of approach that we've got with these 4 different agents.
Absolutely. So once I've shown you the discovery agent where the documentation is all the backbone, and based on that, then we have built some other agents. So there are agents which plan the test cases for you. So we have AI assisted test generation. Then based on that, we have predicted defect analysis. We have self-healing, which is groundbreaking, honestly, because test generation or writing the test cases used to be one thing, but maintenance of the test cases has always been a big issue for the testing. So developers make a change and test case is broken. There you go. Now you have to go ahead, fix these test cases along with the other work that you have to do. So that's all built in with the smart test selection. So exactly what I was showing you before, and what I mentioned earlier, your testing should be done on the risk areas first, and then you should be following on to the other low risk areas. So we have smart test selection where we understand what are the risky parts of the system, and based on the risky parts of the system, we add more testing or more automation around that, and then the next parts of the system comes in. And based on that, we have seen excellent results. So you can see 50% test creation, which is quite fast. The defects are caught early. There's less maintenance, and the feedback is faster. So essentially, your release cadence is going to be quicker.
Yeah, and that self-healing bit, I think that is a game changer in itself, because that's where
Indeed.
Developers, testers, and what have you, that if you're not keeping on top of your tests, what ends up happening invariably is the developers just start ignoring them, and
Yes.
tests start failing, and you just end up, that's always failed. And before you know it, 50-60% of your test cases are failing, and they just add no value anymore because they've not been kept up to date with. But by having agents to help you do that and turn that into a frictionless mechanism, then you're getting that almost for free.
Absolutely.
Okay, so back to you again, Amara, to show us a bit more about the tool.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Russell. So I will quickly start sharing the screen again. Yep. Okay, so now you have seen the knowledge base, which I mentioned is the backbone, and you have seen the risk areas. Let me really show you the full pipeline of the test creation, where the test plan will be created to the tests that are automatically written. So the playwright files, test files, and then healing in action. So let's start. Right now, the page I am on is the exploration part. So there are two modes in here. One is the analysis mode, and second is the guided mode. With the analysis mode, it is getting all of the information that we have already created with the discovery mode. So all of the knowledge base is going to fed in this as a context. And then we are going to create a large document or a test plan. And based on that, we will write these test cases and so forth. But I also want to give you this just a quick heads up around the guided mode, just in the interest of time. I may not be able to just fill in whole of the guided mode, but with the guided mode, imagine that you have a manual tester and they are doing exploratory testing, which is absolutely must with the testing. Then what with guided mode you can do is you can insert the link and you can just go ahead, click on different buttons, and you can create your test case as an exploratory tester as well, which is quite cool. Perfect. Let's look at the analysis mode. So this is exactly the same website that I've shown you before as in my discovery, with my discovery agent with the knowledge base. I will start analyzing this website. Now soon, what you will see is a browser will open up. So as soon as the browser will spin up, I will bring it over to the screen so that you guys can see. So it is doing something. Let's wait. So when the browser will come up, you can see that it will actually interact with the website. It will discover the pages. It will capture the elements, record the API calls, and that knowledge base that I've shown you before will again be the foundation of this. So let's wait for a few seconds. Is there any question from your side, Russell, Sujit, while this is starting up? Okay, the browser opened. Sorry, Russell, go on.
No, it's all right. You can see that this is one of the things with agentic AI is it is doing live demos and things. It does do things differently from time to time. So
absolutely,
you don't always know exactly what route it's going to take. But yeah. Obviously,
Yeah.
our agents and skills kind of guide that as much as possible.
Yeah, so there was an error, but still it understood that, okay, what's the error? Based on the error, it actually understood that I have to take a separate path. This is what agentic AI, you will always find that, but that's where our skills and the hooks and all the information that we have built into the system is that, okay, if it has hit the wall, how it can fix, how it can really understand that, okay, what are the different paths that I can take to actually fix those issues. So exactly what I mentioned earlier, it will spin up the application. It will go ahead, start navigating on the application, understand whole of the application structure, and based on that, it will create a test plan. Now, at the moment, in the interest of time, this test plan that this agent will create will only be probably 4 or 5 test cases that you can see. You can create up to 200 test cases or 500 test cases. So you can leave it running, and in 2 or 3 hours, it can create a large test plan for you. But for now, it will only create just 5 test cases because the time is limited for us. I really want to showcase you how it will work end to end. So I will wait until this will complete this whole process. And as we have mentioned before, we are using Playwright, which is an open source tool, and it is quite a powerful tool as well. Perfect. So as I mentioned, it has created the test plan. Let's open the test plan. Okay, the test plan is all written. And as I mentioned, it will just generate only 5 test cases probably for you based on the time limit. And if I open these test cases for you, you can see they are written in Gherkin. So product owners, developers, stakeholders, anyone can read these test cases, understand what the test case is written. Is it actually something that matches your requirements? And that's where human in the loop comes in. So tool has done some work for you based on the risks it identified. But yeah, that's where a human will come in, understand all of this test case and see, okay, yeah, this is absolutely fine. Another thing that I want to mention here is, as you can see, it has not only generated the happy test cases, it has created the negative and edge cases for you, which is absolutely important. Now with testing, normally what happens is you look at the happy path, and normally negative and edge cases are left behind, but that's where the real risk lies, isn't it? So yeah, that's all catered. So now what I will do is, I have looked at these test cases. I can see what test cases it has generated. I can go ahead and start generating these test cases. So it will create the proper Playwright files for you. At the moment, what it will do is, it will spin up 5 agents in front of you. So 5 browsers will open at the same time, and it will start writing the tests. Imagine if, again, going back to my same point where I said, if you have 200 plus test cases or 500, you can generate up to 20 test cases in parallel with Playwright, which is, again, it's absolutely great because it can generate these test cases quite fast, very, very quick for you. And yeah, for this demo, there are just 5. So it has started opening these browsers for me. So I will just bring them up onto the screen. It will navigate onto that application which I've given. Yep, so 3 opened and another one. So it is really interacting with this website, picking up the real locators and picking up the real information from the website, not hallucinating. That's the most important bit here. It will take few minutes again, look at the test case, understand that test case, based on the test case, create the Playwright TypeScript files for you. And
Can I
yeah,
just, sorry, Amara, it popped up with a Parabank thing. Is that, I just wanted to explain, that's a bit of a red herring because that's just your default web page that opens up, isn't it, when the browser opens? Yeah.
Exactly, that's correct. Because this is a demo, obviously, website, and at the moment I'm using on multiple websites. Yeah, it was just it navigated to one website, but it still understood that yeah, I need to navigate to this website, and it is yeah, picking up and making that. Cool. It will now, what it will do is, as you can see, the first test case is already created. It will keep generating these test cases and these TypeScript files. So we have around 20 minutes. What I can do is I will navigate to you to a session that I have already created, and I can showcase you what it will really show. So for this one, I have created a much larger test plan. So as you can see, what I mentioned earlier, that you can create much larger, around 20, 30, 200 plus test cases. For this session, I have generated around, you can see around 15 scenarios in here. And it understands that okay, there are some critical scenarios, which are the medium risk-based scenarios based on what we have given as the information. Now, once these test cases, as I've done earlier, if you click on the test generation, it starts generating those test files. So let's go ahead and see what it has generated. It has generated these files for you, which has the real code in it. So as you can see, it's all in here. And yeah, so this is another other area where I wanted to show you that if you want to generate more test cases, you can do that absolutely with the time. Perfect. Now, once these, obviously the files are generated, the next step is the execution. How fast these tests can be executed. I have seen many places where the execution takes around 3, 4, 5 days, or even longer sometimes, because it's a mix of manual testing, semi-automated test cases. Some are automated test cases. Test cases are brittle, really slow. That always happens with Playwright. Another thing that comes as a prize for us is the test cases can all run in parallel. So let's run these 15 test cases in parallel and see how they will work. There were different options to run these test cases as well. So I could have run these test cases on CI/CD pipeline, so with Azure DevOps or GitHub Actions, something like this. But yeah, at the moment, these test cases that I'm running them locally on my machine. I will just take you here. So you can see that 15 of the test cases have passed, and some of the tests are quite fast. It's like 2.5 seconds. So exactly the point that I was mentioning before, these test cases all ran in parallel. So 15 of them ran in parallel. So that's why they are really fast. So in some cases where we have delivered some projects, we have seen that around 200, 500 plus test cases are running in under 2 hours, around 1 hour or 60 minutes, something like 65 minutes, something like this. That's how fast they are running with Playwright. Perfect. Before I go ahead into the next phase, is there any question for me?
Yeah, Mara, I'll just say one thing that the fact that these tests do take an hour or two to run, that makes your earlier point even more important, which is target the test to the most highly critical areas, right? Because these pipelines could run for a very long time, and the business is not going to sit there waiting for tests to complete before they can hit the release button on the next version of the software. So, confining your tests to the most highly critical ones to make sure you have that rapid cadence is super cool.
Absolutely. And now then another point, what about if the developers, they want to, they can't sit and wait for 2 hours, then obviously we can tag our test cases. Based on the tag, we can run just few of these test cases as a smoke pack, which can give you a quick confidence that, okay, whatever changes I have done, they can be deployed really quickly and I'm fine. Deploy those ones and then run the full pack, probably a larger full pack overnight for 2 hours or something like this. It will be very, very quick. Perfect. So the next part of this demo is, which I mentioned earlier. Now, this is the best case scenario. You build the test cases, you run them. Everyone loves green color. Everyone wants that their test cases, all of the test cases pass. But in real world, it does not happen like this. The developer will make a change. They will update something, and that's it. That's where your test will be broken. That's where healing comes into play. So what I will do is, in the background, I will break one of these test cases and then rerun these test cases right in front of you and see what happens. So give me just 1 minute and I will break one of them. Cool, it's done. Let's run these test cases once again with the local machine. So yeah, what should happen now is one of the test case should be broken, and then I can show you how really the healing functions come into play. One more thing that I want to mention here is whatever we are doing here, human in the loop is absolutely important. So if I've generated the test plan, human in the loop comes in, they understand, they looks at whole of the test plan that's generated. Then the test case is written. Again, human in the loop comes in, understand that what we have written so far, is that completely fine? Is it really matching our requirements? Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, I did tell that one of the tests should be broken. So you can see one of the tests is broken. But I quickly want to take your attention to this point, where it is saying that the team has been notified. So reporting, that's very important bit and pieces for the stakeholders. You have built a large test plan, or you have built a large test suite. How you are doing the reporting, that's where the team's integration comes in. We have done, apologies. I am just bringing that onto the screen to showcase you how it looks like. So here you go. You can see that it is reporting me that, okay, 14 of your test cases passed. There's one failure. It is giving you the failure results as well, that where it thinks that this test has failed. So let's go back and now look at the healing. Let's diagnose what is the issue. So it is telling me that it can't find this specific locator. So it thinks that probably the page structure has changed or something has moved. So let's apply the fix quickly. Now, again, it will look at the documentation we have created. It will look at the code. It will look at the whole of the information and the real page. And based on that, it will pick up the locator and it will fix this test case. So it will take a couple of around 1 minute or so, because it will spin up the browser once again and apply the fix.
I think this self-healing is quite a game changer, because I think one of the biggest frictions between engineers and testers has been exactly this, right? Developers would change something, testers like, oh, that just don't work again.
Yes.
Then they go back and forth, and there's that friction that builds. But now with the self-healing, I think that that can go away.
Absolutely. Sujit, it has always been a massive pain point for the testers. So any tester who is hearing this at the moment, they can completely tell you that, yeah, it is something which will keep on happening. It has happened for past, I don't know how many years. One thing that I want to mention as well, as we are talking about this, the framework that we have built, it has multiple plug-in, plug-out elements. So I've shown you this reporting on Teams. What about if you're not using Teams, you are using Slack? That's not a problem. We can integrate Slack in for you for your reporting. And there are multiple other things that we can plug in as we go. So let's consider what about if you are using, you're not using Azure DevOps, you are using GitHub Actions. It's absolutely fine. All of this can come into play. So as I mentioned earlier, it will look at the application. It will find the new locator. It is telling you this was the old locator. I have found another locator. have fixed. But are you happy with that? If you are not happy with this selector, you can go ahead and change that, or you can just ignore this this fix and just revert the changes back, because I think that's the most important bit. Another time you can see that it has sent the heal summary to your teams. It will be exactly the same way in your teams channel. You will see that what it has healed. So I will again bring this onto screen. It is telling you that all tests are healed now. It has applied the fix and all these details. Perfect. That's all from my side. Russell, over to you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Just reloading the presentation. So
you can see your screen, Russell.
You can?
Yep.
Yep, good stuff. Thank you. Yeah, I was just trying to find the right slide. So that's the three key problems that we talked about earlier on, kind of mitigated through the use of this technology. But also quality is going to be higher. So less effort involved, more test coverage, shorter time to run those tests and execute them and build them and heal them. So you've got more stuff automated, tests are kept up to date, reducing that friction and overhead of the healing. So you're enabling developers to get that feedback sooner when bugs are introduced. So yeah, and it's an end-to-end process that goes across adding value back to you through introducing this technology.
Yeah, and Russell, one thing I'll say here is that the real ROI that business is going to see is you're combining this confidence with the velocity, right? You take the two of them together. That's what gives you the ROI. I mean, I think most organizations have had to choose between speed and quality. I think traditionally, and now this what you've described over here in terms of intelligent QE. This enables you to get both at the same time. You can do the speed and the quality at the same time. You're not making trade-offs all the time.
Yeah, and the confidence one is an interesting one, because without running any tests, you may still feel that you've got a high quality product, but you may not. You've just got no idea, right? So
exactly.
And quite often we get asked to review people's code, or they've had some other company build some software or something, and they want to have it assessed or looked at as well. So yeah, the confidence one is a really interesting one, because you obviously don't know if you've got a problem if you haven't tested against it. So you're just assuming everything's working and keeping your fingers crossed. Not a great way to be, I guess. So the approach that we take here at Transparity, it's very much leveraging the AI technology to work with us. So it's using the agentic stuff that exists there to augment what we do. It's not replacing what a test team does. It's us using AI to make the testers kind of more empowered and be able to do more quicker, better and faster. So it's very much the frontier approach in terms of how we're leveraging agentic technology. Always engineering led. So the people that would do this should always be people with a testing background that understand how to test applications, how applications break, how testing works, and all the rest of it. And we very much focus on that, what's the best outcome for the customer. So again, it's not about getting 100% of the tests and just spending all the time getting to a nirvana figure that somebody sees as a valid target. It's more about what's the best thing or the best approach for you and the best solution and the best amount of coverage that we get to. And we do it by working with your teams rather than replacing them. So it's more a case of we would come in and we would land our frameworks, land our tooling, and train people up on how to use it as well, so that you've got something that's actually adding value to you going forwards. So we're leaving the team once we've done the initial part of the deployment and consultancy with new skills and a framework to build on for the future as well. So just how do we engage? We can do discovery. We can go through and do the design and deployment of those frameworks as well. That's kind of like the minimum piece. So running the discovery tools against your own application so that you can see how it works and what kind of insights it's going to get. Then coming in and deploying that framework and designing what a good testing plan might look like. We can go and build those tests out with your teams as well. And we can go on to support them ongoing as well, if you like. So we kind of cover the whole end-to-end spectrum and the life cycle of your whole application build part, if needs be.
And Russell, I'll just say one thing over here on that is that, when we've implemented this similar approach with large enterprises, it's an iterative process, right? You'll typically start with maybe one team or a single application, then move to related applications before you, like the big bang. I know a lot of companies say, I have all the legacy codes, I want to migrate all of them at one time. That's never a good idea. You have to start with get that confidence, like I said, with a small set of applications before you move on to the entire suite.
Absolutely, yeah. And just to touch on some of the success we've had recently, so we have worked with a major UK insurance company recently. We're still working with them at the moment, but so far this was an app modernization engagement that we were doing, and testing was kind of considered a part of that. But it turns out that the automated testing work that we did there was more transformative than the app modernization piece, and we've added a lot more value to their team and their organization as a result. You can see all the figures up there on the screen kind of for yourself. The numbers speak for themselves in terms of the return on their investment. But also the great thing about this is they've asked us to stay on and work across other departments within their organization and do some further engagements as well, working in the same way, whereby Amara and her team become kind of team leads across their organization for a period of time to get their teams up to speed with how this works. So the point there is that testing is no longer a disconnected thing. It's part of the flow in terms of how we work with development as well.
There are some questions in the chat, Russell.
Great.
So,
that's timely then, because we're nearly out of time, and yeah. So let's have a look. Chris, did you want to come off mute and ask the question, or do you want me to just try and read it out for you? Okay, I'll read it out. So Chris has asked, interested to understand if this approach can be used to test agents from a pre-deployment phase, build and validation in a CI style, continuing into the operational monitoring for regression risks as continuous testing model. I'll let you answer that one, Amara.
Yep, that's absolutely fine. Actually, Chris just messaged in the chat that he can't come off the mute.
Okay, let me...
Yep. Perfect. So I can quickly answer it. So yes, absolutely. This approach works from pre-development into live operations. So in CI, it builds and validates agents' behavior before release. So using generated playwright tests as a quality gate. And after release, the same test runs continuously to catch the regression early monitor the drift. So alert teams with the evidence-based results, So it's not just the test generation, it is the continuous agent assurance model that we have built here across the full life cycle in the whole of the SDLC process. I hope that answers your question, Chris.
Off mute and left my mic up. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, I was kind of interested in just understanding, like you said, now the demonstration was more around the web, as it were. But yeah, I guess it's very different for when it's got you talking about drift and trying to monitor that, but use the same. I think like the same principles that you can use the same kind of test, but obviously with the self-healing as well and stuff like that. If it's got that adaptability to pull on that AI to make that to help it assess, the levels of assurance and what's the word I'm looking at, integrity of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. A couple of questions about the auto heal. So when a defect is identified and requires a fix from the developer, how do we ensure that the issue is not simply healed and has actually addressed the root cause? And Julian's asking, how successful is the auto heal? So what percentage of changes do the AI fail to understand and resolve?
Very good question. So I will answer quickly, Alex, your point. Now, obviously, if the defect is raised, there's a task or PBI that's created, or a defect has been raised with the acceptance criteria. What we can do is there's also a plugin element that's already added into this framework where it can pick up the task or the PBI right from the Azure DevOps. It can understand the acceptance criteria, and based on the acceptance criteria, it will check that if the test is there, and if not, it will add the test. Now, what about if it superficially heal the test? That's where the human in the loop comes in. So if you have clicked the healing button, it has healed the test for you. You think that it's not the correct one. Yeah, you can just ignore that fix. Or alternatively, if the developer is still working on that PBI, then you can mark that test case as ignored. So you can ignore the test case for that time. And once the whole of the work is done, you have the real acceptance criteria written. At that time, you run that test case. I hope that answers.
Thank you, Amara.
No problem, Russell. There's another one which was from Julian, you mentioned. So Julian, we are seeing very positive results from the healer. It's quite good when it is combined with the knowledge base agent. So when you have a whole of the knowledge base, and based on the knowledge base, it actually heals the test cases because it understands the application. It understands the source code of the application. It gives you much better results in terms of healing. One place where it is still struggling a little bit is the iframes. So you can understand iframes has always been an issue. It struggles a little bit, but I'm happy to report that we have created a specific skill around the iframe, so which manages the iframes correctly. And based on that, we are getting up to, I think, 98% healing is working absolutely great. So yeah, there are some places where I've seen it doesn't work, but yeah, as soon as we understand that, we build another skill to deal with that place.
Fantastic, thank you. We'll stay on to answer some of the other questions that are just coming through, but I just wanted to cover off the next steps piece before people drop, because I know we're over the time already. So just a few things to cover. One is that we're more than happy to do a QE demo. So the tooling that you've seen Amara just showing you, we can arrange a session whereby we will do that demo against your own software if you've got something applicable to do some testing with, so you can see it kind of working live in action. The research that we had commissioned with YouGov, that has been compiled and put together, and it's available on our website as well to download. It goes into a lot more detail than I did during this presentation. And the final thing is another event I'm really looking forward to. On the 30th of June at the Design Museum in London, we're running a Frontier Forum all day. So it's not just about QE, it's more about the whole becoming a frontier company, and what Transparency's done as a customer zero, how we're working with Microsoft to go and mature our frontier approach and what we do, but also how we can help customers with their journey as well. So please join us for those if you can. That should be a really good event. So another couple of questions on there. So can it cover non-functional tests like performance?
Yeah, great question. Now there are, with the performance testing, Playwright is quite good in terms of understanding the load on the application. So for example, like how fast the browser load for a specific page or something like this, that's all integrated. And alongside that, we have also added the JMeter boilerplate code into our framework. So there are multiple scripts that we have added for load testing, endurance testing, and the stress testing. So once we get the KPIs or the SLAs from your side, we can just add that, and it should be a quick run from our side, and then we can run those ones on Azure load testing resource. So all automated for you on there, and you can run them quite quickly over there.
That's great. Thanks, Amara.
No problem.
And
there was a question about desktop applications. Did you cover that?
From Callie. Yeah.
Yep. So Callie, that's again a good one. So with web testing, it works absolutely great. You are asking about application that could be desktop or app testing. So if your desktop application is built in Electron, Playwright is a good fit. Now with native Windows or Mac OS, we can use the tools like APM or WinApp Driver, and there are other options as well where we can host your application and then run the playwright tests on that. There are multiple options that we can use to do that as well.
Yeah, I say that we've seen a lot of use of WinApp Driver in these scenarios. So that's another gift from Microsoft.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
I think that's a wrap then. Thank you very much, everyone, for your contribution. Thanks, Amara. Thanks, Sujit, very much for joining us and your input as well.
Great.
Thank you,
And
Russell.
insight.
Thank you.